So the start of this is making a foundation where
Wait, is this recording now? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we were already...
No, yeah.
Okay.
And
I would... Disclaimer, I'm not nearly as, like, in-depth on this particular topic as you are.
Okay, so...
Anyway.
Yeah, the start would be making a foundation where... Not like a foundation, but
I get what you're saying.
A foundation of, okay, we have this amount of resources. We just, like, calculate everything and go, we have this many bananas, this many people, therefore this many bananas go to this many people.
Yeah.
And we can produce this many bananas at this rate. People need bananas at this rate. Mm-hmm. And so if we can, have those meet at the same...
As long as you can maintain at least the minimum threshold. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. And the thing is that we're capable of doing that. For the entire human race right now.
Yeah, right now we are.
Yeah. We have the technology.
Right. You said technology in respect to food, and I just remembered in Africa there are these, I guess it's two ladies that actually developed a new way to grow produce that actually multiplies the amount of food that you can make in X number of cubic feet by several times. Mm-hmm. And anyway, you just reminded me something exciting happened for agriculture.
But I mean, in this sort of thing, that technological advancement is an open source sort of thing. If somebody finds something out, then everybody can pioneer on that, not just the people who figured it out, trying to compete to make their product win. It's happened in capitalism before, to where a better product has failed because of a failure in marketing or a failure in, whatever it was that led to,
the worst product had a better advertising.
Yeah, either...
I guess product.
Yeah,
it was
the manufacturing
the item had a better product of advertising than the better product had for its advertising, if that makes sense. Might make less sense without the hand signs.
And so, with everything being a whole united thing, you're familiar with the phrase, the rising tide raises all ships. Mm-hmm. The rising tide will raise everyone, rather than just being, we built a skyscraper and we're still in huts. Everyone raises up.
Okay.
And so, since we have the technology to hydroponically automate all produce management, and even though we don't have it at a scale to which it can fuel all humanity, we can do it pretty easily if all of humanity decided
I guess one of the biggest things is most of the negative things that come from capitalism come from abundance as opposed to lack, and that's in respect to historical issues, that's probably a problem that people who've lived with problems with famine and such would much prefer to have. I'm dying of starvation. I would much rather have an issue with trying to fight off diabetes than dying from hunger.
Well, that's not necessarily true. I think that in capitalism, there are those who are overly wealthy and yes, are fighting off diabetes, but at the same time, because those people have this abundance, other people have to have poverty.
Well, that's another thing, though. Poverty is, the impoverished of the U.S. are, compared to those who are the impoverished of, certain areas in Africa, are still basically living like kings, even, comparatively, with relation to those two particular demographics. So, poverty to us could be almost even middle class living in other areas. So to some degree, poverty is kind of a perspective based thing.
But the perspective you're putting is within the United States and then within Africa. My perspective is globally every time, and so you can look at wealthy Goldman Sachs CEO and compare it to hundreds of African children dying, and like the two are hand in hand. Like,
well, another thing though is I don't necessarily look at somebody who has more money than me and go, oh, they must have done something bad to this guy who's poor over here. So like, I do recognize most of the people who are the most wealthy on the planet likely have done things like abusing political tools and such to acquire more wealth.
No, yeah, definitely.
You'll find it very difficult to find anyone that I'm going to say this person's bad because they have wealth. You know,
and that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I know. But what I'm more interested in is attacking the political loopholes and such that these people have been granted that allow them to acquire all of this wealth. Like, and that's not necessarily capitalism that's doing that, because the U.S. is kind of a half and half system right now, where it's partially free market, partially corporatocracy, which is markedly different than capitalism. And the corporatocracy side of things is the stuff that I'm unhappy with. That I'm sure that the both of us would agree need to change. The difference being, I don't think that the system in and of itself needs to be tossed out, and you're willing to toss the baby with the bathwater, you know.
But what I'm trying to say is that those problems are inherent with the monetary system.
Oh yeah.
And so if you want to have money, you're going to have super rich people and super poor people. That's an
not
inherent
necessarily
problem.
to the scale that we have right now, though. So if the scale were adjusted to where the evils of the corporatocracy weren't present, I don't think that the impoverished, soda, would be looking at the same dire situation that they're in right now. And I don't think that there's a problem with there being a difference in monetary value between people, because that, assuming that there are no, unfair systems that are put in the law that allow, those who have money to, do things that would be normally considered illegal, but because, they own a corporation or whatever, they can, funnel money through, here and there, and then end up, not having to pay any taxes or whatever. I kind of lost that train of thought.
Well, it seems like you're okay with the disparity between rich and poor if it's less so than now.
As long as the poor have access to, things such as food and shelter and, what have you. And I'm not saying, because, financial mobility in a free market situation is something that exists. Those who are born poor in a free market situation like that don't necessarily stay poor unless they make poor decisions.
But regarding, and this is where it goes, and I try and connect all of these, but regarding, yes, economics, but then regarding morals, I'm trying to connect all of these. And so to say, oh, those who made crappy decisions deserve a crappy life, that's not what you're saying, but that's the effects of the system.
Yeah.
I'm bridging that and saying people shouldn't have crappy lives.
Yeah.
Morally, I feel obligated, not because somebody told me to or whatever, but I care about human beings enough.
The particular worldview that you have isn't something that you go to because someone told you to have it. I'm pretty confident in you not having that kind of a situation going on.
But and so I want good human well-being for everyone. And so morally, I'm not okay with, even if the economic disparity was lowered to where the
no
poor are less
dying,
poor,
no one's unhappy.
Even if the poor are less poor and the rich are less rich, there's still a disparity there, and that that's a dissonance in morality, which is acceptable in economics.
Well, that's not something that I necessarily see any problem with, insofar as, like, that there are no, life issues happening. Like, if the person's life isn't in danger and, their family is, eating and, like, not just, like, scraping by, but actually has the ability to survive and go somewhere, then I don't think that's a problem, because I see that as motivation to actually do things to advance the betterment of people in general. But that's also something that has to exist for the system that exists. So I understand you're saying, I don't like that exists, and the only way to get rid of it is to change the system. I just don't agree, I guess, with you on the basis that one person having more than another person, and the person with more not having done anything to that person, causing them to have less, is a moral issue.
It's not a moral issue that the rich person did something. It's not a moral issue of the rich person. It's a moral issue of the system in general.
Okay. So it's kind of a collectivist thing.
Yeah, but the the way that...
I guess that's another issue that we're not on the same page on, is collectivist ideas in general I don't tend to subscribe to. I'm much more of an individualist approach on, policies and social issues.
Yeah. And I'm, global about everything.
Yeah.
And so if it's just a way that systems work. Systems have a way of flowing in a direction, and so what happens with the monetary system, it flows towards that economic disparity. And you can put other systems in place within that to try and prevent it from getting worse, but that's an inherent flaw in the monetary system that is just there. And rather than have to try to fix the inherent flaw in the system, we could just make a system without that inherent flaw.
I completely get where you're coming from with your perspective on that. It's just it's going to be a tremendous task to change that. Like, it'll be huge.
It's more so that I want the system to work on its own, rather than have to keep applying and changing things. Like, yes, the system that I'm proposing is not just set it and forget it. There's still changing and growth and stuff, but the changing and growth is at a different level, to where right now we're trying to get our system to where humans don't have to struggle to survive. And
humans that don't exist outside of the system that the U.S. is in particular, is where most of the issue is.
The planet Earth.
I know. Yeah, I know.
A monetary system.
I know. They're like still small groups of people that are sprinkled out. That are kind of outside of the system, but those people are particularly not in a good spot.
The Earth's temperature rising still affects them regardless of whether or not they're in the system.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, is in terms of like issues, as even compared to like those in the system, they're in a particularly bad spot because they're losing access to the natural resources they were using to scrape by anyway.
And so, if the system says, well, first things first, let's try and just make sure we survive. What I'm proposing is, and what like the Venus Project and all these other things is have that just be an assumption. We survive. That is the first thing that should just be applied. We survive.
But there's still going to be a baseline for where everyone's going to generally be, and the people that you're going to have that are going to object to that are going to be the people who live even just ever so slightly above that baseline for standard of living. And so you're not going to be able to get everyone on board with it initially.
It is a change in perception that I have a whole spiel about this, but like we can continue about the system.
Yeah.
And so first things first, have everyone survive. We add up our resources. We go, this is how many humans need. This is how many we have. We can produce even more so than humans need to where everyone
not
is
everything
abundant.
that's produced is a need-based product, though.
It should be.
So do away with entertainment in terms of like games and movies.
What?
I'm not necessarily saying that those are things that we have to have, but like that's like not everything that human efforts have been put into are things that we necessarily need.
When we take away the struggle for survival, those things come in. The entertainment,
those
the
who
arts.
aren't really working, because the thing that I'm struggling with right now is what you're describing sounds an awful lot like the work camps.
No,
we have this need, meet this for the collective, go back to work kind of thing.
The difference is that we have technology, and that's an inherent thing that was in Marxism and communism. That was like, yes, the workers run the society, and the workers keep the society afloat, because without the worker, we don't have any resources.
Yeah.
And everyone says like, oh, well, Marxism makes sense in theory, but blah, blah, blah. But like
I'm not even, like, I wasn't trying to go down that.
But the assumption is that that's made by technology. We don't do that work. We...
As it is right now, even with our technological prowess, if you will, I don't think that we have the resources put into making things that will replace the worker yet. Like, I know that, example, McDonald's is going to be replacing the majority of their staff in almost every installation in California here soon. They're replacing the cookers, they're replacing the cashiers, all of that. So yes, we can do that, and it is something that's happening right now.
Similar in Japan, too. There's
entire
convenience stores that you can just...
I haven't been following anywhere other than the stuff in the U.S. just because it relates to the minimum wage thing.
And so, yes, we have things within capitalism that are furthering automation. And
capitalism as it relates to not having the free market portion of capitalism.
but even still, the automation thing is just another thing that's going to contribute.
It's another step towards what you're talking about.
Yeah. But with regards to capitalism, automation is something that's going to contribute to the downfall of capitalism.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly. That's capitalism as it's advancing right now is something that is gearing itself to replace itself. I don't dispute that at all. But as we are right now, I don't think that we are equipped to abandon it completely yet.
We have
the ability to do it. We just haven't put the resources into it yet, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and that's what needs to be done. Like
and that's something that I feel capitalism might naturally end up doing sometime relatively soon in terms of, I guess, generations. But like as it stands right now, I don't think we're ready for anything that would gut that system. And then if the system is prematurely gutted, like there's no guarantee that that's something that would be achievable anyway.
Yeah. Which is why a lot of things have to be put in place before starting.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, because right now we have like hundreds of engineers in college or whatever that are going to graduate from college and then
go back to the country they came from.
Well, that and then they'll graduate from
the
college.
U.S. isn't producing enough people that are willing to go through that.
But
the problem of abundance.
They'll graduate from college and then be like, I can't find a job, and so they just like, I'll work at McDonald's until they're replaced by automation. But
exactly.
And so you have
kind of the unfortunate thing about the automation thing is it's kind of replacing people at the lowest skill level and then working its way up.
Yeah.
Which means that there's going to be massive amounts of unemployed people.
Yeah. There's some people at my job that have, like, master's degrees and stuff, and, like... It's sad that they're, like, cashiers and baggers and stuff. Like,
there's a guy that I work with in plumbing who's a former professor. Like, I think he used to have, like, tenure, too. Mm-hmm. Like, he's a former professor. He was also a vet that went through, like, spec ops kind of stuff whenever he was young. He's very old now, so there's no chance of him doing something like that now, military-wise. But, like, he's got this massive, like... resume, basically. All of these great achievements, and right now he's, working at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Selling people plumbing parts.
Exactly. And so that's something that...
I don't know that necessarily has anything to do with automation, but...
Well, yeah, but that's something that, as we take account of our resources, like, we also have people as resources without regard to, like, dehumanizing someone, but, like... at risk of sounding like I'm just a totalitarian robot.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go ahead. I'll touch back on that particular spot after you're done.
But to say that we have this many engineers and this many software developers and this many, like, and so on, we can go, okay, well, we have the ability to put this many people working on the automation system that creates all of our resources. And so another thing that is put in place within this system is that once it's, like, set in motion, that doesn't stop. The people who are working on, like, making the world sustainable they don't just go, well, we're done. Okay. Yeah. Like,
population growth.
Yeah, population growth, and then we find ways to make it more efficient. We find ways to make it healthier and more sustainable, and so on. There's a what's it called? It's an asymptote in math. You remember in graphing, whenever
sounds familiar.
There's a line that slowly approaches zero, but it never actually touches it. That's kind of us approaching perfection, quote unquote. That, like, we have an idea of what perfection is, and no, we can't actually achieve it, but we have to try our best to approach it. And so as we're slowly, like, getting closer to that line, we still try to do more and more to get closer to it, even though we know that we're not going to reach perfection.
Something like outside of, the capitalism versus long... Great. All I remember from what you told me way back when was the technocracy portion of it. But one of the biggest things about this system that bothers me, it doesn't have anything to do with money versus no money. That's something that if it's achievable, it's not something that I have an issue with. It's just as it is right now, it doesn't seem attainable yet. It's just all of the things that you're talking about, like, there's so many spaces in there where corruption could cause issues.
How?
Just now you were talking about the asymptote. Say we get to a point where we hit a wall and production for food and, all these other things starts to get to a limit. Well, human reproduction tends to explode at kind of an exponential level. That means that there's going to have to be some sort of very, very enforceable measure to prevent the people from producing too much in terms of, new generations. Else there will be, famine and what have you.
This is a little bit less grounded in, like, reality.
Well, this isn't something that's going to be
no, I know,
soon.
But, like, what I'm about to say, space.
Yeah. There's actually, I heard that we could be as little as, I think it was like somewhere between 20 and 60 years away from actually producing a spacecraft that can actually stay up in space.
Yeah.
With, obviously they'll have to give it, replenish supplies and such. But
and we can we can do that, like, have space colony just floating out there in our own craft, or we can have a colony on the moon or a colony on Mars or something like that.
Mars or Venus are the two best options that we've got that are nearby, just because of the effects of low gravity on the skeletal
Well,
structure.
yeah, but having a rotating space station can simulate the effects of gravity.
Yeah, yes. Yes. But, like, for right now achievable, like, those are our best two options.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
And so the explosion of population, hopefully, and again, this is like the ideal.
We would have to continue expanding.
Yeah,
because if we didn't, we'd keep running into that wall and like bashing our heads into it.
Yeah, no, the expansion has to go outside of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
The Earth cannot sustain this many people. One, with this system, and then just at some point, even with the ideal system, cannot sustain the amount of people that would be there.
Yeah, there's really no such thing as a perfect system that's going to sustain an exponential explosion of people.
Yes.
Outside of leaving Earth, but yeah.
That and you mentioned how like enforcing, basically enforcing. Enforcing contraception or, killing babies or whatever. Most of the stuff in, like, this society, rather than being enforced by a quote-unquote government, it's a social perception of just common knowledge. In the same way that it's common knowledge to look both ways before you cross the street, that's something that, like...
Well, that's something that people have always had issues with, and that's setting a kind of a societal normative function. That's something that
societal normative functions.
Yeah, that's not something that has been very successful for very many groups in all of history.
Yeah, but it's not a law to look both ways before you cross the street.
Yeah.
But it's in your best interest to do so.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm just questioning the probability of it being effective.
And so common knowledge in that way can affect societies really, really, like, it has a really big impact. In the sense that societies where... sexuality is much more open. There's less trends of aggression. That's actually, I forget the name of the person who did the study, but basically someone did a study on societies and civilizations that have one relationship with their mother, so how close the relationship is with the mother, and to how the level of sexual repression in their society at adolescence. And they took those two things in relation to the level of aggression, both military aggression and just violent crime, and the correlation is direct. The more sexual repression, the more violence. The less relationship with the mother, the more violence.
And obviously I would have to see it, and I'd have to, like, whenever I see things like that, I tend to want to inspect the, metrics that they use for the...
and you should.
Yeah, after we're done with this, I'd like to get that written down or something, like the name or... something I can use to find it.
Yeah, Chris Ryan quotes it all the time, and I don't remember the dude's name. But basically stuff like that, like... social perception affects the way that a society functions.
Well, that's kind of been the argument for a lot of things from the right. It's like, we could do these things, but people just have to, like guns, obviously. It's like, people can have guns and not shoot people. It's just a matter of, don't be an idiot who's trying to attack someone and you don't get shot kind of thing. And so that's an argument that exists in a lot of different areas.
Exactly.
And it makes sense. Like,
and in the same way... it's the same thing. More educated people have less children. And so...
You trying to insult me here?
No. And so you don't have like 12 kids, so it's not like...
I know. Trying to make a joke.
But the way that correlation goes is to be reflected in, not in the way that China said, nope, you can only have one kid.
For more than one kid.
Yeah, it goes, hey, look, we already have a lot of people on the planet Earth. We should probably only have one kid. Yeah. That's the way that should work.
Well, something interesting is, even with that, there are some countries, this directly has to do with the birth rate for these countries. Like some Scandinavian countries will actually pay you if you have a child. They're like, hey, we're dying faster than we're being born. Have children and we'll give you our money.
There's an incentive for doing a thing that's good for you.
Yeah.
And the way that it should be in society, rather than having a monetary incentive, it should just be the incentive is the good thing.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that's obviously not good enough for the people in these Scandinavian countries. It's like, it sucks that we're dying faster than we're being born. I don't care, I don't want a kid.
Yeah, and that's where a change in values in a society happens, where... and probably one of the major backbones of this sort of thing is education.
Something interesting about this is it seems like it would be very, very not acceptable to a lot of these groups that are becoming kind of identitarian political groups, because it would do away with a lot of kind of just cultural things, because it would be everybody kind of existing under this one, I guess, culture, if you will. Something I just thought of. It doesn't have anything to do with any argument. It's just I'm curious about how it would be taken among some of the subsets of the Black Lives Matter group, like the Uhuru crowd.
This might be like...
I don't know if this is a discussion that's actually happening.
This is fine, but quick side note.
Yeah.
I strangely don't have a attachment to culture.
Oh yeah, no, I get that. I mean, that's a pretty common thing for most white people in the United States. It's like, what European country did I come from? I don't know, because I don't give a crap.
Yeah, and so for me, yes, I did. I was born in Venezuela, and I have parts of that culture, and the positive effects of maintaining cultures is that you take the good things from the good culture, that culture, and get rid of the bad things.
Yeah, you culturally appropriate.
Yeah, it's an evolution of...
Sorry, I had to inject a buzzword.
It's an evolution of the improvement of your culture. And so, for me, I see, here are some good values that I got from my Venezuelan culture. Here's some really good food. Here's some, music influences or whatever. But then the stuff about, not accepting gay people, I probably won't.
Is that a thing in Venezuela?
It's just like a cultural, gay is bad.
Okay.
And that's a cultural thing in a lot of cultures.
Places, yeah.
But, just, especially coming from, a majority Catholic society.
The majority of religions say gay is bad, and I imagine it has a lot to do with, gay people don't make babies.
Yeah.
So...
and so...
But, yeah.
And so, for me, I don't have really a particular attachment to culture in that sense that, we must maintain the purity of blah, blah, blah. It's just taking the good things out of a culture, leave the bad stuff. That's how we evolve as a society. And so, yes, while there's this, but my identity is to be African and stuff, and it's cool, you can do the good things, but as with everything else in a educated, civilized society, you get rid of stuff that is harmful and just bad ideas in general. Circumcision and female genital mutilation. Yes, those are cultural things, but let's just not do that anymore.
Those are some... I'll spare you getting into the feminism thing.
And so, with that regard, the law of the land wouldn't be a law. It would just be a cultural, societal norm that we would just accept, in that, hey, hitting children is not the greatest thing for their psychological development. And that's not like a thing that is, you know, it's not a thing that's like told to you by the government. It's just like you go to school and they go, hey, what are the effects of hitting children? These are the effects of hitting children. And if everybody knows that, then
just out of curiosity, so I can understand exactly what you're saying. Are you saying that towards like beating children, or are you saying that towards like just the typical like swats included in that? Just because I'm curious now that you've mentioned it.
I'm generalizing, but spare the rod and spoil the child, or whatever the hell that comes from. There was a fun flowchart that one of my teachers in school, he has a master's degree in psychology, or like developmental whatever, but he made a fun flowchart which is like reasons for hitting your child and reasons for not hitting your child. And so like, should I hit my child? Yes, no. Do I have are they old enough to understand reason?
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Yes.
Well, no, I get that, because that
reason.
has a direct affiliation with the, are they going to associate this pain to something that they did that you don't want them to continue? I get all that. I'm not saying, like, go out and, like, just relentlessly beat a 1-year-old or anything.
Well, yeah, but, like, the flowchart goes, are they old enough to understand reason? Yes, then use reason. Are they not old enough to understand reason? No, don't hit your child.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
That's how that goes. And so that's pretty much the gist of that.
Have you tried reasoning with a 3 or 4-year-old?
It's fun. It's great.
Usually doesn't work.
The thing is that there's alternate methods other than just hitting a child or using reason. There's alternate methods such as like, we're going to have to get into this, but like time goes by much slower for children than it does for us. And so just like stopping everything and making them do nothing is a wonderful way of making...
So psychological torture is okay, but nothing physical.
Not even psychological torture, but just going, all right, we're just going to sit here and do nothing. And that will just be like, no, to a 4-year-old. Anyways, I'm not a parent or anything. There's more people who can give better information on that.
Yeah. Anyway, this has nothing to do with the thing we were discussing.
But in general, education and knowledge affects behavior. That's just true. If you believe that the groundhog seeing its shadow affects the course of spring, like it'll affect when you plant your crops or whatever.
So like, basically you're just saying propaganda is key.
Not even propaganda, but just public knowledge.
It's the same...
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But the connotation is different.
Yeah. It just has to do with whether or not you care about it coming across as a positive or negative thing.
Yeah.
It's basically the same idea in function.
Mm-hmm. So. But education being the backbone of this thing is more so that for one, we have to expect science and education to be as unbiased as possible, and that's something that
we actually have a little bit of an issue with right now.
We have to shift our values as a society towards that. We have to shift our values from, oh, I want all these things, to this is the thing that's right. Regardless of my bias, this is the answer. And so... education from a very early age, and to everyone who is already older, shifting that public perception as a whole can create a society that sustains itself both.
What about checks for making sure that the things that are being used in this education are actually things that are accurate? The reason why I ask is because there's actually a petition that's been I may have already mentioned it to you. I can't remember all the things. Anyways, a petition that's been brought up by, honestly, it's a YouTube personality who goes on rants against this particular political idea, but it's a thing about how feminism and other ideas that come from kind of a social justice perspective are increasingly more and more scientifically illiterate, and go even as far as saying things as empirical fetishism shouldn't be seen as something that is the end-all be-all in a discussion, i.e. things that are actually observed with empirical data. Like, so what if empirical data says this? My opinion and my feels say this kind of a thing. So yeah, so this guy, his name's Sargon of Akkad on YouTube, actually has come up with a petition where he's trying to get universities to actually temporarily suspend a lot of these kind of social justice-based courses and actually evaluate the content of the courses to make sure that there's not crap in them, which there seems to be a lot of crap in right now. Like,
the prevention of bias in this society would be simply by the amount of people contributing to it. In the same way that, we open up science, and so and the whole purpose of science is that it can be recreated.
Yeah.
And so, well, not the whole purpose, but one of the main things
there's
of science.
Some issues like inherent in that, and that it's the thing that makes some of the things in science, have more credibility is also one of the things that's making it to where things that aren't accepted by the mainstream, such as, right now something that's relatively mainstream is a lot of the opinions that are being held by these groups that the petition's made to target out.
Yeah.
Because of that, you can't get in through the peer evaluation thing, because all of the people who would be evaluating it are saying, I don't like that this opinion exists, I'm not going to validate it, kind of a thing.
But that's more a problem in the hierarchy and the bureaucracy of science that shouldn't even really exist anyways.
The argument for it makes complete sense for having this system in place. Like, I'm not saying that the logic behind it existing isn't there, because it makes perfect sense. It's just that in and of itself, it also causes issues for whenever something that's like demonstrably false is in the realm of mainstream, that it's very, very difficult to get people to willingly evaluate it for fear of losing their job and their livelihood.
That is prevented by sheer amount of people that would be contributing to science.
Which would require
an opening of all...
And also maintaining things like freedom of speech, which is being pushed to be censored right now. So by these groups that have this power, because they don't want the sheer quantity of voices against it to be brave enough to voice these opinions, because... the more people speak out against it, the more people hear the logic behind speaking out against it. And if you can, threaten people with legal ramifications for speaking out against it, then they're not going to.
Yeah.
This is more of a current reality thing, not your ideal.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, and to say it even more bluntly, there are no laws in this society. It's just...
it's all social...
It's just social norms. And so, free speech is inherent because there's no law against it, but there's just... You just say what you think. And if everyone is just speaking honestly, and if, lying is perceived as a bad thing, which there's a whole logical argument as to why...
Most people see lying as a bad thing, even as it is right now, even outside of religious ideas. So that's a given.
And so the whole public perception thing and like shutting down of like blah blah blah, like the ideal is really just any bad ideas aren't valued because they're bad ideas, and all the good ideas are valued because they are good ideas. Good for the sake of good, because it helps us all, because we are all a human race, and that it benefits everyone. It benefits you, and it benefits me. Therefore, your best interests are my best interests, rather than just my best interests to hell with yours. And that's, again, connecting to morality.
Yeah.
Which is another inherent problem with the monetary system, is that it's very it's inherently self-focused.
It's
I make
video
my
game
money.
Leaderboards. You're trying to acquire points. Yeah,
I make my money.
Yeah,
I don't care how much money you make, but I make my money. And that divides us as a human race. To get all like hippy-dippy about it, like the more united we are, the better it is for everyone.
It doesn't. The idea. I mean, yes, through all of the massive amounts of effort that would have to go into the education for getting people to all kind of have this hive mind kind of style of mentality, it would be something that's possible. But the problem is even with that, you're still going to run into people who are going to, introduce the chaotic human element.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that it's going to necessarily be just exceptionally different in terms of people making all of the right decisions. People are still going to do dumb things, and
yeah, well, the difference is that our values are where they are now, and a shift in those values may change how those chaotic people would be perceived. And so someone with a slightly out of field idea today would, we'd be like, hey, that kind of makes sense. But in a society where we all value logic and science and reason above most anything else that really has less value to us empirically, really,
you have no idea how hard I laughed when I heard that.
Really, any idea that's outside of that would, not because of this like hive mind control or whatever.
Oh, I didn't say hive mind in the sense of.
No, I know.
Okay, yeah.
But I was playing off of it.
Okay.
But really, someone with an idea like that would just be perceived as like
different.
That dude's crazy. Like, for us to have everything we need and be like, man, I want to find a new way to have these oxygen masks for people who are divers to discover more stuff about biodiversity, improve these masks so that they fail less. And then someone going, why don't we just burn all the system? And it's like, but that doesn't help you or me or anyone. That doesn't make sense.
Out of curiosity, are you referring to the recently new kind of GoFundMe
I don't know. Oh, okay. I was just
okay. Sorry, I was just curious if you were familiar with the product.
Yeah,
this is something we can discuss
out of thin air to say that this is a goal that someone would have in this society.
I was just like, it wouldn't have anything to do with recording, but it is another interesting discussion that I'm sure that you would love to hear about. But we'll do that later because it's hilarious.
But yeah, like a goal like that would be something more in that society rather than world domination, which is something that is an actual goal within the monetary system.
Well, it sounds like that it's also more or less something that you have to achieve for this system to get everybody on the same page in the first place, though.
The logic speaks for itself. There's no need for tyranny.
Well, I know I'm not saying necessarily that it would be something achieved by force.
Yeah.
But I am saying that it'd be more or less ideological warfare until it's achieved. Kind of in the similar sense to, Islam trying to spread throughout the globe. Not all of what they're doing to spread Islam is, jihad by the sword. There's also a lot of people going out and trying to make converts and stuff.
Let the logic.
And I'm not trying to equate this to Islam. Yes. I'm just saying for what we have right now in current reality is some of the more easily made comparisons of this.
Yes. But again, let the logic speak for itself. Mm-hmm. If we run a simulation of our system now and just let it go, see how long it takes for us to crash and burn or die in a nuclear blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Or we run a simulation with
in fairness,
Sharia law.
In fairness, though, if you take capitalism and keep it within the confines of what it is right now and run it out and see how long it takes to run into the ground, it's not really an accurate picture of what happens with capitalism because it's usually expanding and innovating anyway. Mm-hmm. So keeping it confined to current reality doesn't necessarily give you an accurate picture of what would happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like, since this is all a hypothetical simulation anyways, it would account for those things.
Yeah.
But like, we'd see how long it would take for society to destroy itself within these confines, and then see how long it takes for us to destroy ourselves within a more ideal society. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for me to promote those things, more so because I'm a musician.
Well, that's not necessarily true. You just have to put these ideas into things that you're expressing. Although this is something that's difficult to turn into a catchy song, I'm positive. But, these are ideas that you could certainly express in your music. It's just going to require lyrics.
I consider myself a messenger of sorts.
Yes.
On the how we talked about the personality test thing. Mine is called the campaigner, and so I consider this to be sort of my campaign.
Mine, for those who, I don't know if I've mentioned it on our podcast before, I'm the debater. So what we're doing right now is what I like to do.
Yeah.
I don't even necessarily argue everything from my own perspective.
Yeah.
FYI, for those who might be curious.
And so I consider myself a messenger to bring these ideas to people, to show them and to help them, I don't know, either agree with me or help me to understand why they would disagree with me.
That makes sense. Like, more, my perspective on it was more of a attaining the truth, no matter how ambiguous it may be. Like, attaining the truth just for the sake of having it, which means that you see every person that you meet as a potential whetstone for your intellect, but that's something that might not be necessarily positive.
And I have definitely a large part of that, and that actually really helps me to be a better campaigner of sorts, just to accrue as much information as I can.
Yours is more of a doing it to make everyone else know. Mine is more of a most people don't give a crap, so I just use them as a method to know the thing myself. I've done a few 3v1 debates at work in the past.
Okay. And so with that, what are the things that you think that are flawed in this idea?
For
that system.
Are we talking about... Because I'm not entirely sure what page we're on right now. Sorry.
The system, the Venus Project.
Oh, that we've been talking about? The main thing that I'm worried about is a system like this, regardless of if there's a law, there has to be some sort of entity to... just from what I've heard of it from you so far, because, I obviously haven't gone and read through all of the things on the Venus Project, because it's a lot of effort on something that I'll only ever get use out of for discussion with you, not necessarily anyone else. So it's hard for me to justify the time for that. But just from what I picked up from you thus far, it still sounds like it's something that's going to require some sort of entity to regulate certain aspects of it, like the distribution of the resources and such. And in doing that, you have the potential for someone who can more or less, I guess in internet terms, throttle resources to particular groups if there are people who don't necessarily, fully synchronize, kind of goose step style to certain ideas. Be like, oh, I don't like that the people over here in this region aren't as enthusiastic about this portion of what we're trying to do as a whole, so we'll make it to where they get a little bit less food or something, Yeah. And again, I haven't heard everything on the distribution methods that have been discussed for this, so that's just one of the things that I foresee as a potential area for someone being a jerk. But because
my rebuttal,
yes,
computers don't have bias.
Automation
computers
system
don't have
but someone still has to maintain the computer.
Everyone, or at least like
everyone who can.
Yeah, and a lot of the like regulation and like law enforcement is sort of through a public perception, because everything being open allows everyone to inspect and speculate and go, ooh, I don't like how that, like, and so everything sort of falls into place, because if, let's say, George over here, who is, the software programmer for this day or whatever, and he goes, put this many more, because I use the analogy, bananas over to bananas. This...
we'll use bananas as the word for food.
Put this many more bananas in Africa than in Australia. And because I feel like it.
Because we don't like the Anglosphere.
And so let's say there's like 20 more engineers, or
that are like, what is
50
this crap?
more engineers, or like 70, like they go, hey George, why? And that's really like, even more so, like you can make it even more public, and even if the 50 engineers are corrupt or whatever, there's the people outside of that going, hey, what gives, guys? And so the openness really accounts for, that's kind of something that keeps hunter-gatherer tribes actually so afloat and so together, is the openness of everything. They don't have their own possessions. They don't have their own... They don't even really have, like, their own children. Like, everyone in the tribe raises the child.
Raises the child,
And so, if anyone goes, I'm gonna grab this much more deer meat, everyone else in the tribe goes, hey man, you can't just grab that much more deer meat to yourself.
Okay.
Like... That's kind of the thing that keeps us afloat. And so there's what I appreciate is that there's a balance between highly technologically advanced stuff and then stuff that's like the basis of human nature, going all the way back to hunter-gatherers.
I'm still skeptical on the efficiency of decentralizing power from everyone and maintaining it that way, just based on the fact that certain people who do certain things for the society are going to have the ability to, even like with the engineering thing. So say, people do point it out. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make them actually do anything about it to change it, unless it's like through threat of violence, maybe. And then they're like, okay, kill all of us. Who's going to change the program? Who knows how? Kind of thing.
It's more about a change in values. That, for example, again, if someone has everything they need to survive, and they kill someone, do you toss that person in jail because they're bad? Yes and no. You
have to
take that person...
circumstance first off.
You look at the reasons as to why they did it, and then you take them to a mental hospital because there's something wrong with that person's brain to have done that.
With the exception of self-defense.
Well, but I mean, again, a lot of problems, even in this society, that arise are
this society,
sometimes
as in the one you're discussing, or the one we're in?
the one we're in.
Okay.
Are discussed in a way that's just making assumptions about the thing rather than looking at the reasons as to why it happened.
Oh, you mean the societal
Yeah.
sources? Well, you see, the issue with that is a lot of the things that we could look at in that scope right now are things that are either going to seem, in some cases, maybe racist, or in other cases, maybe sexist, or there's all sorts of ists that they'll attach to you trying to actually attack the source of an issue. So then instead of, remedying the problem, they have to work with fixing the kind of symptoms to the problem, which is one of the problems we have right now. Kind of like what I was talking about earlier with some of the...
Regarding this, I always use the example of abortion in cases of rape. And so a lot of people will say, oh, well, it's a life, and pro-life, you still have to carry that baby to term. A lot of people will say, well, it's the mother's body, and they have to, they
have the
decide whether or not they keep it. And I'd rather more so ask, why'd that dude rape a woman? Because what ends up happening is that more people end up talking about the baby, and rather than talking about the source as to why the baby happened. And so, why do people rape? And so, maybe that's a problem that we should fix in society before worrying about the abortion problem. Yes, we can deal with the abortion problem, but at the same time, we should also look at...
Do something to make it to where it doesn't have to happen in the first place, kind of thing.
Why do people rape? Rather than, should they be allowed to have an abortion? Why do people rape? Then the abortion doesn't happen.
But another thing, though, is just on the abortion topic, there seems to be kind of a similar situation as before we were recording, where I was talking about there are people who are getting to the point where they don't care if they're labeled a racist, and they're starting to become kind of exactly what the whole label of being a racist was supposed to stop from happening. There's kind of that effect happening with the abortion stuff, where you have people going, I'm 8 months pregnant and I'm going to go get an abortion just because screw people who are against abortions, kind of a thing. So it's not necessarily, and I understand that that's a rare thing, that most people aren't like that, because it's, for lack of a better word, retarded.
And we have to look at what took place in society for them to be able to get rid of their humanity and go, there's an almost fully formed human in my stomach.
Could literally survive if it were, cut out or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, we're gonna tear it apart and kill it because I'm trying to make a point. It's like...
And so at that point, it's not even really about the abortion. It's, what the hell's wrong with this person?
Yes.
So, I mean... with that regard, the chaotic evils of an ideal society would be treated less so as criminals, but more so as mental patients. There is no reason for you to kill someone who hasn't wronged you. There's no reason for you to take resources away from other people and bring them more to yourself, even if the resources that you have are more than enough for your survival. There is no reason.
So just out of curiosity, you're making this as long as you have enough to survive thing. That's more or less the same thing I was saying for people who are in poverty and have everything they need to survive. If all of the people who are considered the bottom rung on the economic scale are brought up beyond the point of everything needed to survive, would that not be enough? And then still have the competition in there that capitalism basically more or less requires until it replaces itself, because obviously that is something that it's leading to. Because I feel like that'd be more of a painless transition from what we have now to what you're talking about. Is that something that you would still consider inherently immoral? because
why do the people who have more want more?
That's because it's the driving factor for most people right now. What I'm talking about is more of an in-between stage instead of where we're at now versus
and I'm saying the people who have less economically but still have enough to survive.
And we're also assuming that there's no one below that line.
Yes.
Okay.
But there's also the people who are way above that line. Why do they need to be way above that line?
Have money to blow on all of the little things, whatever. Like, because why not? You know.
Is that not wasteful?
Well, if there's room in the system for waste, does it matter?
Is there room in the system for waste?
Well, honestly, I don't know right now because I haven't evaluated the number. I haven't crunched any numbers on that. So, because again, this is your territory.
Yeah.
So I'm not as well versed. I'm just exploring. Directions because that's what I like to do.
At this point, there's no room for waste.
Okay.
There's too many people on Earth. There's not enough resources. There's no room for waste.
I don't. I think that there are enough resources. It's just that we have so many things that have been plugged into the system that are making it to where those resources are being pooled into a small number of people, which is one of the things that you argue against. However, I don't think that having the same differences at a smaller scale is inherently bad, is what I'm getting at. Because if everybody's brought to that point, because I think that like with the population as it is right now, that is something that we could attain, is spreading that out. But a lot of that would require taking the big corporations out of politics and the politics out of the big corporations, and not extending protections that are meant for individuals to the corporations. This is one of the areas where I kind of don't adhere to the common, I guess, opinion of the right. And it's not so much of a spread the money out among everyone, kind of like with, typical, I guess, socialist or even, I guess, communist ideas. It's more of I think that a lot of these issues would remedy themselves if it were truly a situation, or like an economic system for capitalism that was set up in a way that politics didn't want to be like, hey, I'll give you some legal stuff if you give me some money, kind of a thing, with their hand out, increase the legal ramifications against those who would, partake in these, shady political corporate business deals. Yeah.
The problem is that these problems, the, rich people trying to get into politics, the whatever, like, those things are also inherent in the system because, like you said, people have this motivation towards more money. And so, if that's the motivation will continue. Just because. That's what greed is. Don't you think that, once again, Goldman Sachs CEO has more than enough in his life for 20 generations below him?
Well, on that same token, you're also...
Or her.
You're also... Yeah, I have no idea who Goldman Sachs. Someone who might not be obviously quite as wealthy, but still has tremendously more money than they need, and based on what they do with their money is something that they obviously recognize. Bill Gates gives away, I think it's like somewhere around about or maybe over half of all of the money that he makes to charities. So like inherently there is no good or bad with having it. It's you also have to do something with it, obviously.
Yes.
And that's something that's one of the
shoveling.
That's one of the things that get ignored
pulling into his house
by the people who are kind of in a similar position to you. Most people don't have your position because they aren't familiar with the topic, but people who have, comparable opinions on this, something that they seem to be like, well, no, that's not something that happens. But like, people who have money do give money away. Even people who don't have money, to that relative degree, give away money to people who don't. very regularly. So the problem that we're having with this is something that exists with anything that has to do with distribution, is the people who oversee the distribution are taking advantage of it. A lot of people, or a lot of the groups that you have to go through to, give recurring donations to people in countries that are like exceptionally below the poverty level, they take a cut out of every donation that you give. And some of these groups are significantly worse than others. Like they'll keep like over half of what you give per donation, right?
Yeah.
This is the primary, I guess, thing that I have against just distribution in general is the people who are overseeing the give this there, give this there, give this there. Like inevitably from like almost every system that's ever been that's like that, people are like, well, I could take a cut of this, and it's like, I could be doing better if I took a bigger cut of this, kind of a thing.
Why does Bill Gates give to charity?
Because people need, and that's what I'm saying is you could have people, like you can still have the capitalist system in place, and people are going to give. Like that's something that exists right now, even with the tremendous issues. The unfortunate thing is the systems that you have to go through to give take advantage of it. So if you again reform the existing systems instead of burning it all down, you can still achieve uplifting the people who are in these terrible situations. Another thing, though, is in some of these places, the situations that they're facing aren't necessarily just because, they don't have money. There's also things like, I think it's the Congo, where, rape is being used as a, instrument of war. And it's like they have social issues that they need to fix amongst themselves before the money that we send there does anything to actually accomplish, I guess, a net positive.
What is the proportion of rich people who give compared to the proportion
I don't know that that's something...
Yeah,
is there a measurement of that?
I don't know.
To the best of my knowledge, there isn't. But that's also something that people don't have to necessarily disclose.
Yeah. But at the same time...
Funny thing, though, something, because this is on topic, it's not really tangential. As far as the people that do disclose that they give money away, most of the people that give away in high percentages are actually not the wealthiest. But on that same token, percentage comparison versus like total comparison isn't necessarily too comparable unless you look at it as like it takes all of these people added up to equal the amount that this guy over here is giving. Yeah.
There is a correlation between the wealthier or better off a person is, the less they give.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
And so...
But that's also percentage-wise, not necessarily like total sum-wise.
Well, yeah, but even still, like...
Well, there are fewer wealthy people, so what I was getting at is... and I don't know the numbers on it. I saw fuzzy. I haven't seen the details on how they achieve the metrics on this. I've just seen the generalized percentages. Like you could still take, like all of the people above X amount and add it up. I have a feeling it's still going to be quite an impressive sum, even though they're not giving away half of everything that they're earning.
Yeah.
Unlike Bill Gates. He really is kind of an exception.
The point that I'm trying to get to is that if we reach a point to where it's a bit more leveled out, to where everyone survives, but there's still a wealth disparity, what's to stop or what's to keep the rich people giving? Like, there's nothing in place telling them to go...
At that point, I mean, there very well could be, some people who would still give, but if everybody is, like, living well, and then there's just the competition of maybe I want to have, jet skis or something, so I'm going to do this thing that contributes more to, the financial system than, being, a janitor or whatever, it still gives people kind of motivation to achieve higher skill employment, because I don't see too many people being as interested in getting into the like exceptionally complex kinds of I guess disciplines without the monetary system to some degree, not necessarily as it is now, but
if everybody is, I mean, if everybody is fine and surviving, I still don't see why they need more.
Well, if everyone's fine and surviving, on that same token, I don't see why it's necessarily bad for someone to want more. Like,
there's no room for waste.
no. We're also operating under the assumption that everyone's taken care of, and there's enough. Because in order for there to be a difference in people up here and people down here, and even the very bottom of the people down here still being above said line, there's obviously room for waste in that situation. Otherwise, the people up here wouldn't have more than the people down here. So
you're acceptable with greed as long as it doesn't hurt others?
Okay.
I use the word greed as a bad.
I see it as less of a, I want to have a thing because I'm a greedy SOB, and more of a competition is something that is good for innovation. And regardless of if everyone's being well taken care of, a world without innovation is kind of a sad sight, in my opinion.
But as you mentioned earlier, there's no mobility if there is no, like, I have a hard time understanding what the motivation would be if everyone's fine where they are. Everyone's surviving, and just some people have a little bit more and a little bit less.
The people surviving is different than people having the ability to go out and do X, Y, and Z. Like you can be surviving and not have all of the same options as someone else who's doing better than you, but you still you're living, you're not working like 100 hours a week, and so it's kind of the difference of a guy who's like lower middle class to guy who's upper middle class. They're both obviously doing well. The difference is the guy who's upper middle class might have maybe a job that might have a job that he could be like, I really don't know what all jobs are average, but let's say he's kind of a doctor who has his own practice or whatever, and dude down here, lower middle class rung, might be like a technician for whatever blue collar job.
Yeah.
Obviously, the guy who's a doctor is going to be seen as more valuable than the guy who might be like working with septic stuff like I was.
Yeah.
Because some of the guys who were working there were doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, comparatively. Yeah. Like, entry level there's like $12 an hour.
That's crappy job as it would seem.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
I can't not make that pun every time I mention it.
I know. But anyway, that's what I'm getting at, is like, I don't see anything wrong with guy who's a doctor getting paid more than guy who opens up crap tanks 8 times a day, 5 days a week.
Because both of them would rather do what they want to and not have to worry about it. And so I what you're proposing is fine, but what I'm proposing is better?
Except whenever, with decrease in, I guess, the pay and all of the things that come with being a doctor, the decrease in the standard of living that's been happening because of some of the healthcare laws that have been coming out, there have been fewer and fewer people becoming doctors. So without that, I guess, incentive to become a doctor because of the higher pay and what have you, we have fewer people who are actually willing to do the job, is what I'm getting at. So you're going to have fewer people that are doing, the harder jobs because that incentive isn't there. Okay. Being good for people isn't something that they care about enough. And
so that's a societal change that needs to happen.
Yes.
or like a social perception, moral change that needs to happen rather than a monetary value.
Well, no, but even with the system, you still have the monetary thing going on, which could also give the incentive, and which is something that I am pretty confident in saying is much easier to attain than from the ground up cultural change.
Yeah.
Like, I see that as much more likely to happen in a reasonable time frame.
Isn't it better to have people have value morals more so than value money?
Oh yeah, that's no doubt, but the likelihood of it happening is what I'm saying. Like, in a reasonable time frame.
Yeah.
Like, and through achieving the system that I'm, I guess, proposing, it would be easier to also achieve the moral position on that than it is from where we're at here.
Yeah.
And to be fair, a lot of the things that I'm arguing are things that I'm just spouting on the fly, and not all of it's necessarily something that I agree with. I just like I like arguing for the sake of arguing. So I mean, sometimes you have to be a devil's advocate.
Yeah. But just because something is harder doesn't mean that you shouldn't pursue it.
You know, I agree with that. But not every. I mean, you'll find a lot of people who are going to agree with that on an inherent level. Kind of like, yeah, you're right. But that doesn't mean they're going to do anything about it. Kind of like a lot of the well-paid people that you see kind of on the left who are like, taxes should be higher to give more money to the poor people. Generally, a lot of the time, whenever you do find out about what these people are spending their money on, often they're not even paying their taxes that go to helping the people who are poor, and two, a lot of the time it seems like they don't even give money out as a donation beyond taxes anyway. So, and I'm not saying this as an attack on people who are on the left. I'm just saying like the left tends to be more of the make donations, quote unquote, something that is legally mandatory.
Yeah. I feel like we've reached a settling level to where there's some disagreement, but we've settled.
Yeah, we this is how any discussion between the two of us tends to go out. And that might be because sometimes I'll argue positions that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
For the sake of furthering the discussion,
but also the fact that a lot of your other discussions with people end up with and they run off.
Yeah. Oh man. Did I tell you about one of the ones that happened at OSU recently?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. That was
yeah.
That was fun.
But I'd rather end up at this point to where we both gotten something out of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is what I prefer it to happen, but I'm not going to lie, I am kind of a jerk in the sense that I did get a little bit of enjoyment out of how that ended just because it was funny. Whenever you get someone so mad because they can't argue against you, they have to literally leave the building that you're in.
Oh yeah, no.
You do get some satisfaction out of that.
Yeah. Definitely. It's fun to get someone to the point to where they go, I don't have an answer for that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It went beyond ad hoc. He went from name calling to the name calling section of that was so short lived because I just kept coming back with more things that he didn't have an answer to where he was finally just like, you guys are a bunch of douches. I'm out of here.
But yeah, civilized discussion is
preferred. Just not quite as exciting.
So since we've reached a fun level here, still your YouTube channel, which is yet to
have happened. But I would like to maybe fix that if you have time because of one of the ideas I discussed before we started. Because we do have time.
Okay. But do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, I haven't made the channel yet, so no.
Okay.
But
anything that you want people
by the time this is produced, I can give you a link that
Yeah.
you can put underneath.
Anything you want people to look more into? Something that I'm a messenger. I'm trying to get a message out. Is there any
biggest
message that you're trying to get out real quick?
The thing that I have a bone to pick right now is just, which is also kind of something that you seem to be advocating for, but from a different kind of area, is identitarian politics is stupid, which means collectivist ideas can lead to bad things also. It's because people.
Yeah.
It's people. People are the problem. Anyway.
Look into stuff. Do your research, friends.
Yes.
Use your blinker when you're driving.
Oh, man. Yes. Above all else.
And love never fails. It's going to be okay. I might be wrong. Thanks for listening.